Hello and welcome to my video tutorial series RPG in the Box. I am Carsten and in this episode we will cover cutscenes. So moving camera and transitions from one scene to another and something like this. And as you can see, I beautified my main menu. I added a custom font, which is the beautiful font with the leaves. And I will show you how to do it by yourself, and I also added a background theme for my main menu and the cellar level. And this was provided by GriffithDS from the Discord community. So very thanks to Griffith for this amazing soundtrack. And now I will show you how to do your own cutscenes. So to change the visuals of your dialogues in your menu, you can use fonts, and you simply have to add it in your font folder, which is this one. And to get the knowledge how to do it, you can search for Fong and you find a section about Fong in the help section. And you see you can add Fongs in the TTF or OTF file format. So, and to get your own Fongs, you can simply use web developer tools like the Google Fong, Web Fong helper. So at the left panel, you have different Fongs. So nearly every free Fong on the world, and you can use a filter, and you can filter for names and also for types like handwriting. So you get handwritten font sets like this or this or this, and you can change your character sets. I would recommend to use Latin extended, and if you scroll to the bottom, you can download it as a zip file and you can add it to your folder. So then you can go to the UI editor and can define your main menu. To make it like I did, we need a camera angle for our main menu. And we can simply do this by open our map editor, positioning our camera, and then we can use the save camera position, and we can give this a name like main. And this saves the position on the direction of our camera, and we can use this as a preset for menus, for dialogues, cutscenes, and something like this. Okay, to do this, we go to the UI editor in the main menu section, and now we can change our title section, which is this one, and we have the text section, which is the option part of the main menu, and we can choose different fonts from our saved fonts. We can change the font size and also the color of our font, and we can change the gaps after each line, so the line spacing, and the same for the text font, and we can choose a custom color for a custom cursor color, and we can define a background, which I didn't. I use my camera angle. We can also define a plain background color, and I used my preset, so I can choose one of my maps, and here is the set of all my predefined preview camera positions. So I use my main position from my Xanchi's house map, and now I can choose if I want to have moving NPCs in my scene, and also I can add my awesome main menu theme from GriffithDS. Okay, so that's about the customizing of the main menu, and you also can do this in the credit section, but I don't want to teaser my credit menu. It's part of a later sequence. So let's go to the next part. So I'm a really big fan of the Zelda series from Nintendo, and I love the cutscene when Link opens a chest. So I didn't handle the part where a character looks into the chest, but I want to make a scene where my character opens the chest and the chest begins to glow from the inside, and we have a camera close up to the chest, and after that the chest closes automatically and is removed from the map. So we want to do this as a first cutscene. So let's go on with this. So, in preparation for this cutscene, I added my object chest, and I pre-built the bulk of the chest and the top. And I defined attach point in the corner, so it's easier to adjust the angles. And I built the chest object from these two attachment points by angular rotation. So I have a preset for opening the chest or closing the chest, and I added an animated light in the middle of the chest so that my chest begins to glow while opening and stops glowing when it's closing. So, and I also added my dark box for interaction purposes with a transparent layer. So I have a real object to click on because I cannot interact with attached objects. So I have to simulate this by a nearly invisible body. Okay, and now we come to the scripting part. To do this, we simply add a quick script to our chest. So let's go to the model properties and add a quick script to our chest object to have an entry point for our new scene. And we will save this as chest script. So we have the real script editor. Script, chest script. Okay. And now we can edit this with the drag and drop menu. So, and the first thing we need to do is locking the camera. So we can move the camera as we wish, but previously we have to lock it so the player loses its interaction possibility for the camera. He cannot rotate the camera with right mouse button and so on. So we have full control about it. So to do this, we need a function which is called lock camera. So that's the first thing we need to do. But we can also suppress the behavior that the player can interact with the chest multiple times because we want a solution where the player interacts, the chest opens, closes, and is then disabled or removed. So in the first step, we add a set entity script. So if the player interacts the first time with the object, we play that script and then we delete it from our object. So the player cannot trigger it multiple times. So we set the script none, so we remove it from our object. Okay, then we lock the camera and we also lock the player movement and interaction possibility. So the player cannot walk or interact with objects while the cutscene is running. So then we want to add our camera position. And we can do this like before. We go in the Xanchi's house map and my chest is at this position. I edited it and I adjusted the interaction line. And then I have to choose my angle for the camera. So like this one. So, and I can save this as chest. So it's saved for just this map as chest. Okay, then we go back to the map editor. And now we can adjust our camera to the defined position. And we do this by using the function move camera. And we have different variants of the function. So move camera, which is applied instantly. And we can also do this with camera movement speed in voxels per second and over a period of time. So we have a transition time like we had before in the fade in, fade out functions. Yeah. So and nearly every camera movement and positioning function has an at speed and over time variant. So we want to use this in the script editor, and we use the move camera over time. And now we do not specify the coordinates in plane, we use the camera position, and we can say we use the chest position. And our movement duration is 2 seconds. And we want to look, no, we don't want to look at any other position because our camera position has a position and a direction. So that's it. If we specify a coordinate, we can also define an entity, a coordinate, a tile, an object, an NPC to look on. So, okay. And if we did this, we should evaluate if the chest is opened or not. But I think about we just want to open the chest a single one time. So we can go straight to the next thing. So we play the animation open. Play animation. Self, and the name is open, which is defined in our chest. And then we play a sound, which I did with the sound effects generator. And that is my open chest sound. And then we can unlock the player movement and interaction. So now the player is able to move away from the chest and also to interact with other objects. And we want reset the camera over time. So, but give me a second. We played this. We want to include a wait, so it's not instantly released. We include a waiting period of 2 seconds for the player before we unlock the movement, and then we reset the camera. And this is really important. If you miss the reset function for the camera, the player cannot interact or cannot move the camera for the rest of the game. So you have specifically to unlock the camera if you're done with it. So, and we reset the camera not instantly, we reset them over a time of 2 seconds. And after that, we are waiting another 2 seconds. Then our chest should close automatically. Play animation. I will do the 2 times with you, and then we come to the conceptual stuff. So I will just explain the coding and do not code in real time. So, and then we wait another 2 seconds and we remove the entity from the map. So the chest is out of the map. So, and it's included in my object model. So it's also included in my map if I do not change the names. Hopefully I didn't. So chest script is okay. And now we can see the results in game. So we have to save or cancel our changes. And then we can see the cutscene by pressing on the chest. And you see the camera movement, you see the glowing, you heard the sound, the camera is reset, we can move, and our chest is gone from our map. Okay, so this is the first cutscene, and you can also play with animations where your character is looking into the chest or taking an item from the chest and holding it over the head. But because we doesn't handle items, inventory, and objects up to now, I will handle this in later episodes. So it's not the topic for this episode. So, and now we want to improve our script because it's not a good way to define hundreds of camera angles to open hundreds of chests. So we want a more generic use case. So we switch from the definition of a camera position to the coordinates. So let's open the script again. And now we can change the chest position with two different positions. So move camera over time. Over time accepts two positions, which is the destination and the look at target. So the camera position and the camera direction. And we want to include this, and we can define it by our player. So if our player opens the chest, it stands at this position and he has a empty space in its back. So, and if we use this as a convention to keep a free tile behind the player, we can rely on the fact that a free tile behind our player could be calculated from the navigation paths. And to do this, we can check the character documentation. So every character has an adjacent tile in the back, which is the back tile. So, and we can use this to calculate the position for our camera. So we want to provide it here as a camera position, which is simply the player dot back underscore tile, and we need the coordinates because we want to increase the position, and I explain you why in a few seconds. And we use a target position where we look, where we want to look. So, and this is from the chest position. So it is self dot coord. And simply these are our positions for the camera and the looking direction. And if we do this, we have a camera aligned like this because we use the tile coordinates, which are at a 0 ground level. So we want to increase this, and we do it by changing the positions slightly. So to camera coordinate, and we define it by the constructor coordinate, and simply add the components of camera position X component, camera position Y component, and camera position Z plus 33, which is 2 blocks. And we do the same with the target coordinate equals coordinate constructor X component, Y component, Z component plus 16. And we can now include this as the camera position. We should do copy paste to avoid typos. And we also want to include the target coordinate in this point. And now we have a generic script. We can also do this by transforming the positions from the player looking direction and something like this, but I want to keep it simple for this episode. That's the only reason why I do this by the back tile. And now I can click on the chest, and I also have my scene, and we have a little bug. We have an invalid operand. We added to a coordinate a value of 33. So we have to check the script again. And we have not added the component by 33, 32. We have added the complete coordinate. So simply that's it. And now we have our generic chest script. Ta-da! Okay. So let's come to the second cutscene. So for the next cutscene, I want to make a camera movement aside player. So I added this nice cable car in my backyard. So I have a platform where the cable car starts. So this is my cable car. And I added the models, which is the cable and the support of the cable for the start and end position, like this, and the cable car itself. And it's driven by a concept called moving platforms, and I want to describe this in the next or second episode after this. So in the next episodes, we will handle collision overrides, which explains how I made it that the player doesn't stand on top of the cable card, instead he stands at the bottom, and how the cable card is moving along the cable and something like this, and the scripting stuff of this, and a few other topics. But for this episode, we want to stay at the cutscene part. So these are the models, and now the concept is to add a camera walk aside the cable card. So, and we can do this by adding our script at the cable card as a quick script. So the trigger is the character which is moving onto the cable car. So we add a quick script in the script section. In the script section. So in the quick script section for character and style, and we use the quick script and add a few functions. Like in the last one, we set the entity script. Let's do it by set entity script to void. Or we remove the entity script so the player cannot walk multiple times onto the cable car. So in the first time he drives down the cable, and then the cable car stops here at this position, and the player has the possibility to go multiple times onto the cable car, and we don't want to trigger the camera movement every time, because our camera would jump on the top and makes the whole drive down the cable. And to avoid this, we release the script in the first execution. So then we have to lock the camera again. And we can also lock the player interactions and movement possibilities. And then we have to position our camera. And we want to do this over time. Camera over time. And we have to define the position for our camera. So we see this in our object. My object is at 20 minus 13, 74, and I want to have a distance of 5 tiles in this direction. So it should be 15 minus 13. So let's enter this here. Let's say 15 minus 14 and 74. So we increase this by 33. This is 106. Let's check this again. So 14 and 13. So okay, we are a tile by side, and we can also do it in this direction. So our camera is moving a little bit faster than our card. And we want to add the target as well, coordinate, and we have to describe the position for this one too. And we can get it from here. So we can simply copy this to add it then in the script. By Control V. And we want to, no, that is not the right position. That is the end position for our camera. So we can keep it there. And we want to focus on our cable card. So it's coordinate 20 minus 13 and 74. So that's it. Okay, then we want to wait for just a second before we start the sequence. So, and then we make a secret function called move platform, and I will describe this in the moving platform episode. So this handles my pre-configured platform. So I want to move the platform at the position destination, and we don't want to wait until the script is finished. So we move the camera over time to the target position, which is this one, and we have to set it to 15. So we have the distance of 5 tiles, and we use the neighbor tile of this, and we can also copy it to the second spot, and we use 20 and 6. Yeah, 6 is okay, and we increase this by 16 and this as well to 90, and we have to increase this to 32. So like this, and then we want to reset the camera to release it to the player, and we unlock the player interaction possibility. So the player has now full control over the character. And simply that's it. We can use this as a quick script, and we can see the result now in the game. So now I'm on the way onto my platform to see the results. And if I walk onto my cable car, my camera is positioned, we wait a second, and then we missed the transition time. So here's a little bug. So it's a lot adjust. It needs a lot time to adjust your functions. Yeah, this is the main error. I don't want to use it over time. Instead, I want to move at a precise speed. So my platform has a speed of 30 voxels per second, and I want to adjust the camera movement position with my card. So it's synchronized, and then I can use this to drive aside my card. So let's try it a second time. So, and again, our camera should be aside our player, and it's pretty nice. And connecting of the navigation part is handled by the moving platform configuration. And as I said, I will describe it in one of the next episodes. So this is pretty nice. And now we will come to the next cutscenes, and I will stop explaining the code while coding. So I explain you the code line by line and what it exactly does. And at the end of the video, I will add a scripting reference to every single used function for cutscenes. So welcome under my house. So the next cutscene is a little quest-like cutscene. So we doesn't handle quest until up to now. So imagine you have the quest to kill a slime for opening this gate. So I added a slime which attacks my player, and I added a script to the slime. And I revamped my scene. So here is the entry room with crystals at the walls, and the crystals are splitted to 3 different models: a blue, a red, and a white crystal object. And it has a flash animation where there's an animated light source. So, and the concept is, if the player kills the slime, the camera is positioned at the player position. looking at the gate, moving to the gate, then the gate opens slightly while the crystals are flashing with a sound. Then the player comes from the side, runs through the door, jumps in the minecart, and makes a drive to the other side and the camera behind the player. But we have to handle a second problem. So in my cellar, I use a first-person camera. And to avoid that you have obstacles in front of your view, a character has no model in the first-person camera. So the object model of Rex isn't in the map. So we cannot use a first-person camera to see our character. So if we move the character away from the character and look to the character, there is nothing. And to fix this, we have to change the camera from the first person to the standard camera, and later back to the first person camera so we can see the Rex model. So I added the script on the enemy, and I know we doesn't handle enemies, so it's also part of a later tutorial, but you can add attackable in real time, and then you can add a script, run script on dev, and I added the stellar cutscene dev script. So and now we look at the stellar cutscene dev script, dev slime. Okay, that's it. In a short description, we lock the camera as usual, we lock the camera movement as well, and then we add a display message. So the player says, "Hooray, I've killed it," and the character says itself. So we have a portrait and the name tag, for, like described in the previous episode. We change the camera to standard, and we also save the camera position. So here I use a global script, so a global function, and we can do this simply in the game settings by global event scripts, no, by global functions. And here is my global function. So I put in a coordinate and an X, Y, and Z offset. And I simply split the components apart, and I'm adding the X, Y, and Z offsets to each component and return the coordinate itself. So it's a shortcut to avoid to writing this line of code multiple times because it's very long and error prone. So I use this instead. I use the calling the global function and save it back to the camera position. So, and then I move the camera to the camera position without looking at any specific position. So then I determine my view position and can say, look at target over time. So it's this is the two pieces of move camera with looking to the target. I move the camera first and then I look to the target later. And I move the camera over time close to the door, which is the coordinate of the door increased by 33. -1, -10. This is this position. So we're looking from here straight under the roof. And we make a group animation, the flash animation for every single object in the crystal group. So every single crystal is in the crystal group. And then we play the sound flash wave, which is made by the SoundFX generator. We wait half a second. Then we assign the gate as a variable. So it's a shortcut from now. We can play the open gate animation. We modify the navigation from here to this position to change from interaction to walk-in interact. And I realize it's not really necessary because I cannot interact directly with my gate. So I also could, I cannot do it as a navigation line. So I would be able to walk through the door. So I have to do it like this. Okay. So then I move the player through the door straight in the minecart. And I move the camera over time exactly as the minecart. So from this position straight to this position minus 5 tiles. So round about at this position and 1 block higher than my rails. Okay. Then I wait another second and change the camera back to first person. I move the camera to the player position where the player is then. Then I rotate the player to the north direction. I want to do this to align my camera back to the movement direction of my minecart. But I realized it isn't possible. It is buggy and I couldn't handle this. We will see it in a few seconds. And then I unlock the movement interaction possibility and reset the camera over time, and the control is back to the player. So, and we want to check the result now in the game, but I have to do, yeah, that's okay. So I have to go to the cellar. So let's walk through the house. So, and you can add a question NPC with a wanted paper, 1 million for the slime, something like this. If we handled Crest, or if you're also familiar with Crest by yourself without this tutorial, so it's pretty fine. And we can kill it with spacebar, and now, hooray, I've killed it. And we have the camera movement, focusing, moving to the gate, then the open gate sound and flash. That's it. Now Rex comes from the side, jumps in the minecart, and we have a camera movement behind our Rex to the other side. He jumps out the minecart, and our camera is wrongly aligned to the wall, and I couldn't handle this, so that the camera is looking at this position. If I find a fix, I will give you the information in a later episode by comments or something like this. So let's look at the script last time. So we handled the locking like before, and we added a display message for the player. And we changed the camera to the standard camera. We calculated the camera position, moved the camera to this position. We calculated the view direction, and our camera is focused on this direction over 3 seconds. Then we moved the camera over time close to the gate. We played the animation for the whole group crystals with the animation name Flash, and in the same time we played the flash.wav. We another time wait a half a second. We reassigned the entity gate as the name gate. We played the animation open on the gate. We modified the navigation through the gate with walk and interact. We moved the player in the minecart like a puppeteer. We moved the player behind the camera behind our player to the other side. We moved the player out of the minecart. Wait a second, we changed the camera back to the first person. Then we moved the camera to the player position back. And I tried to rotate the camera in the northern direction to avoid have a misaligned camera, which doesn't work. And we released the locks for our player and reset the camera, which is really important to have the control after cutscene. Okay, so that was this, and now we have a very special last cutscene. So we have a role-play game, and in a role-play game, a player can commonly die. So I added a die animation for Rex. I want to show you how Rex dies. So I added the frames 13, 14, 15. So Rex is standing straight and he's falling to the ground. And I combined this for a cutscene with gravestone. So I added the letters for the gravestone in the... Who is it? I added the letters for the gravestone in a what is it? Marching cube style. And I also added a gravestone with an attachment point, and I added the attachment to the gravestone. So there's the gravestone, and then I made a little bit copy paste with the image editor of my choice to make a scene with the gravestone and Rex and a the flower. And I will show you the result. So I want to include this picture in my cutscene. So I placed it in the images as grapes JPEG. Here it is. So that is my image I want to show when Rex dies. And to hook the script for the player dev, we can add it in the global settings. And we have global event scripts. And here is a hook for player is defeated. And we can add some every predefined script. So I added a player dev script. And now I want to explain you how I did the dev cutscene for Rex. So we will show on it in the code editor. So it starts with fading out for 3 seconds. So the monitor turns black. Then I hide every toolbar and I display the message, the image grave JPEG for 5 seconds with a black border or color around my image to fill the gaps. But my color, my image is mostly black, so it fits perfectly. And I scratch the image to keep the aspects. Then I play the sound player dev OGG, which is a voice file made with an automated text to speech. I will explain it later. Have a nice day from the Discord community told me about his idea to include an AI-driven story, and he made the voice with an AI voice actor. And it's a really nice idea, and he showed me how he did it. So I added this to this episode as well. So thank you very much for this great idea. Have a nice day. Okay, so then we asked the player, you died, now come with me into eternity. And he have to choose, no, it's not the end. This is not the end, or yes, I'm tired. And I added a color tag, as you can see. So this color tag triggers every following letter to be full red, 0 green, 0 blue. So the text is red up to the closing tag, which is this one. So then I have the result, and no, this is not the end, is the index 0, which is this one. And if the player says he doesn't want to quit, I execute the startup script. So I reset, so I switched back to the starting map. I make a fade out instantly because after map change we can see the level. So I faded black instantly. I show the toolbar back to the player. I revive the character, so I give the HP points back and triggered that the engine handles Rex as living. And here we have to add entity and the amount of health points, which cannot be more than the maximum, and it's sealed to the maximum. And to get the player maximum health points, we can open the stats editor and we can see we have HP and max HP, and we can use this expression to set it to the maximum player health points. Okay, and then we fade in 3 seconds, or otherwise, if the player wants to exit, we show the credits. Okay, so let's try this. And to do this, we have to reduce the player health points to 1. So we haven't to fight minutes with slimes. And because it's really dangerous inside my slimes, we will die very quickly. So, and Rex dies.
You died. Now come with me into eternity.
I'm not sure if you can hear it. I will explain it after this cutscene. So I have my voice actor, which is an AI voice actor, and I have the choice. You died, now come with me into eternity, and yes, you're right, I'm tired. So I start the credits of my game, and the player comes back to the main menu. So as you can see, I added everything. I made most of the parts. My son Jonas helps me a lot with ideas, and also GriffithDS, which gives me this amazing soundtrack, and the amazing Justin, who is making RPG in the box. So it's common to credit every other maker or artist who gives you sounds and objects, models, game engines as well. So I added this to spend fame to the people who driven my visuals. So now Rex dies again.
You died.
No, it's
Now
not the
come
time
with
to
me
the end.
into
This is not the end.
eternity.
So we revive our Rex and we fade in back to the level. So, and now we have a death scene for Rex and a player choice if he wants to crit or something like this. I also tried this with the dialogues, but it's horrible. You cannot arrange this in a real sequence, so I have trouble to end the dialogue and view the image and have the cutscene from the image to the fade in, and it was awful. So I made the decision to stay at the simple dialogue scripting parts. Okay. And I promised I will describe how to add a voice actor. So, Have a Nice Day told me about this idea and I adapted it to my tutorial and I asked him if it's okay. So he uses another voice to text to voice program, but it's a paid one. And I figured out that this one is for free and you can use it for commercial purposes. So you have a limit of 3000 characters a day and it's reset every day at midnight. And you can type your text here. You died. Haha. And you can choose different languages and different actors. So Matthew sounds really great.
You died. Ha.
So you can also use a female character, or is Kendra female? Let's take Joanna.
You died. Haha.
So, and the awesome thing at this portal is we can adjust our voice actors. So we can include a break like this. And we also can make an antithesis. So it is really strong expression for you died. And we can put our parts in the components. So I can put these components together and I also can add the speed. So he's slowly, it's a slowly spoken sentence, and I can also adjust the pitch. So it's a lower pitch for the voice. So let's change Matthew's pitch to -50. And we can stick all this together to change our actor's voice.
You died. Ha.
So, and we can also do whispering and we can script full conversations of different actors. And the most amazing thing is you can download this as MP3. And because RPG in the Box cannot handle MP3 in this version, but I think it's fixed in the next version. So in the next minor update, we can use MP3 as sound files. We have to convert it to OGG or WAV. So you can enter at Google MP3 to OGG, add your voice file and download it and put it to your project, and that's it. Okay, that's it about the voice actoring from AI. Have a nice day. Thank you very much. So the very last thing I want to show you is the scripting reference of our used functions. So I added it in this file. So we have a bulk of different functions to build cutscenes. So we have the camera, lock, and reset functions. We have the reset with a speed and over time. We can block the player movement and interaction and release it also. We can trigger animations for single entities or for full groups. We can position the camera angle, look at target over time. We can do rotational stuff with horizontal and vertical angle. So minus 180 or plus 180 or something like this. We can do it over time. And also great thing is if you click on a function, you see the scripting reference here. So you have to put a target. Here you have to put a duration, which is a number. And if you're not sure what you have to include, you can press the question mark and you see the in-game documentation. So I realized that this today because Justin told this in the Discord community, and it's amazing. And I doesn't realize this up to today. Okay, so we can move the camera over time, we can fade in, fade out, hide and show inventory, toolbar, and widgets with widget IDs, but we doesn't handle widget up to now. We can move the player like a puppeteer, we can move platforms, we can move characters, entities, objects, tiles, something like this. We can modify navigation, we can display images, and we can also play music, sound files, and video files. So you can compose your complete cutscenes from these functions to build real kinematic scenes. So I hope this helps you building your own amazing cutscenes. It's a very hard topic. It's a lot of function stuff. I hope this can help you to understand making cutscenes. And like every time, if you liked it so far, give me thumbs up. I would be very excited about your subscription, and hopefully I will see you again in one of the next episodes. Bye!